The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
We lived in the murder house, we escaped the asylum, we protected the coven, we attended the freak show, we checked into the hotel, we had a Roanoke nightmare. Now we join the cult. Welcome to Are You Afraid? Cult, the unofficial American Horror Story cult podcast, a PapiChuloRadio.com and Apple Podcasts exclusive. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Wednesday, September 6th, 2017, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Aruz. During tonight's broadcast, we're going to recap, review, and dissect the latest episode of FX's American Horror Story Cult. Please welcome my co-hosts, Clay Bradbury.
Oh wow, this is my first time ever being up top. I'm gonna remember this. Hey everybody, nice to meet you guys, the two people I haven't met, and Priscilla, it's good to see you again, my dear. And Jeffrey, as always, good to see you too, or hear you.
Likewise. Darnell Jones.
Hey, good night everybody.
Mark Estes.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
And Priscilla Rocha.
Hello. Thanks for the rolling of the R's in my name. That's very nice.
You're welcome.
Authentic, even.
It was extra for you.
Nice.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Let's jump into our recap of Season 7, Episode 1, which was titled Election Night and aired September 5th, 2017. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. After the announced presidency of Donald Trump, the lives of multiple residents of Brookfield Heights, Michigan will never be the same. Burm, burm, burm.
That was a very concise synopsis.
It was the only good one. Because there was one that was a mess on IMDb.
Was that it? Was that the synopsis? I thought you paused for effect.
Yes. No, that's it. Yes. So, all right, everybody. Let's get everyone's initial reaction to the episode. And ladies first. Priscilla, we'll start off with you.
I feel kind of confused by this. It's setting up things, but usually with the first episode of American Horror Story, you start off right off the bat, either being freaked out or scared by things, but I didn't find myself clutching the edge of my blanket or anything like that at any of the times. I find myself sitting down confused by this episode, but I'm hoping that it'll clear up more as we talk about it or as the next episodes progress.
Darnell, what about you?
It was a bit confusing for me. I feel like I don't know what to expect for part of it, but I don't know, for some reason, the season reminded me of Purge, the Purge movies. But yeah, otherwise I'm a little bit, I don't know what really I should expect for the other episodes coming up.
Clay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in the minority here because I absolutely loved it. I think historically, Priscilla was right looking back. All of the different seasons of American Horror Story, the first episode is always good. It's always it sucks you into the season and it sets the stage for the episodes to come. I didn't really leave it confused. I think that this is like American Horror Story's self-titled album. This is the most American Horror Story that they've ever done. And I think a lot of the stuff that they presented as kind of scarier, some of the things and ideas that were antagonistic were stuff that a lot of people can relate to, because I think a lot of people feel that sense of anxiety to probably a lesser degree than Allie, but yeah, I thought it was really, it held up a mirror. I think other seasons have used smoke and flames and other shit. This season is really a mirror. This is what our country looks like right now.
Mark?
I'm going to steal what Clayton just said because he made a good point. This
It's
is
just
the most...
Clay.
You can add syllables if you want. I can be Claytron or, it's fine. I'm not picky.
I was just going to say that I, too, think it is the most American Horror Story of the entire 7 seasons we've got. For me, for the first time since, even though Coven and Hotel, don't shoot me, I liked Hotel, were like my favorites, but this was creepy.
Okay, sorry. I will save judgment to another day.
But I wasn't gonna say it. I was gonna let him finish, but somebody else said it. But I'm interested to hear why. I thought Hotel was good too, but I don't think I've ever heard somebody say that. That's interesting.
But for me, Hotel was good because of the whole aesthetic, like the 80s aesthetic. I'm a big 80s freak, and I just love that even though it was set in the present, it had a lot of callbacks to the 80s. All the way down to the set pieces, the music, and the costumes. But that's one of the reasons why I liked it. And I know that it got off the rails towards the end, but that's another story for another day. Because we can get.
I want to, because Jeffrey's the captain of this ship. Really quick, Jeffrey, can I hear what everybody else's favorite season is? Super fast. I think that would be interesting. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll let Mark finish, and then I'll give my opinion. Then we'll do everyone's favorite season.
Yeah, I want to get. This is a good get to know you guys exercise. This is like a good icebreaker. All right, I'm pumped. Sorry, continue.
Okay, continue on, Mark.
ADD moment.
I was just saying, like, this season was like the most in your face. Like, we're gonna tell you what's going on, because I didn't leave the episode like trying to figure out like what's going on. I did have questions because you're supposed to leave the first episode with some sort of questions, though. But for me, it was just laid out so plainly to the point where I was just itching for episode 2 to pop up, like right afterwards, because I'm so used to the binge culture now. But I really thought this was a standout episode, because think about it, like the Freak Show, Hotel, and even Coven, there was so many, and Asylum, there was so many characters to introduce in that 1 hour. Right. And with this one, you got pretty much the main players all in the opening scene with the election, with the announcement that Donald Trump had become the 45th president of the United States. You pretty much had all 5 main characters played out right then and there, from the get, and you knew how they felt, and you're just going to go on this journey with them. And I mean, outside of the Cheyenne Jackson's character, but anyway, I pretty much got everything that I needed from just that opening scene, because the opening scene to me was the perfect setting, and it just set up the rest of the episode, and I believe it's going to set up the rest of the season.
Okay. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. It seems like Darnell and Priscilla are on one side, and then Mark and Clay on the other. I'm somewhere towards the middle. I thought it was a pretty strong episode. I am a little bit confused as to where they're going with it, which isn't a bad thing, to be quite honest. I like the characters so far, and I feel like they were introduced very well thus far throughout this episode, which was good, because at least it seems like we know what their motivations are going to be throughout the rest of the season. And the sort of grounding it in reality, because Ryan Murphy has already stated publicly that this season will not feature supernatural elements, unlike previous seasons. I kind of like that, because now I'm confused about what's real and what isn't, because it's grounded in reality. And I guess we'll go through that and break that down once we get into the episode, because I have my own theories on what's really going on.
I call bullshit on Ryan Murphy saying there's going to be no supernatural elements, because I love Ryan Murphy, and everything he does. I've been with the guy since he did Popular. So when he sit there and Stacy's going to do something at the beginning of the season, go back and look at his track record.
No, it does. It always changes.
It always
He
changes.
did. I think he said he wasn't going to send the Glee kids to college, and he did, and it flopped spectacularly. At least for me, it did. It was like, wow.
Yeah, but I'm gonna trust him right now. I will trust him for the moment. So, okay, so Clay had the idea for all of us to mention and I guess briefly state which was your favorite season so far, and we'll do
Yes.
that. And since Clay, you wanted to do this, we're gonna start off with you.
This is a no-brainer for me, and one of the reasons I really want to do this is because I feel like this gives you good insight into other people, their favorite season of this. It's like a weird personality test. My favorite season of American Horror Story was American Horror Story Asylum, season 2. I think much like this season, I see some parallels in terms of the threat and the monsters are very real, very present. It not in a sense of like modern day, because thankfully mental health stuff is improved, but just the conditions. And then also, I mean, it was a season that had Satan as a nun and aliens and all of this outlandish shit that any other show would have jumped the shark with out of the gate if they tried to put aliens and all of this stuff. But it was just really, really succinct, and I think it's probably their most perfect season, especially towards the end when they do the time jumps with Jude, and you see, you know, all of that stuff that happens. So yeah, hands down, season 2.
All right. Hashtag plot twist. We're going in ABC order, so that means Darnell, you are next. Sorry.
My favorite season was also Asylum. Yeah, I think that one had me most on edge. And I think the reason why this season has me so confused is because I know that there are certain elements from like other seasons that they're gonna have in this one, but it's American Horror Story-ish in terms of like what's going on right now, but it doesn't feel that way in terms of like all the other seasons that went before it. So, but Asylum had me definitely most on edge, and yeah, I'd say that was my favorite one so far.
Props. All right.
Okay, so continuing on in ABC order, I am next. And it's the trifecta. Asylum, for me, it has been hands down my favorite season. Although
we just become best friends. We just stepbrothers. I think so.
yes. Although it's like really close for me, at least, between like either Murder House or even Roanoke could be right up there, because for me those three were the ones that had the most scare factors for me, like the creepiest, the weirdest. Asylum sort of like takes it over the top because it was a really dark season, because it had a lot of the elements that I like in movies that would actually scare me, you know, things like, you know, ghosts and the paranormal and demonic possessions and, you know, creepy alien abductions and that kind of stuff. And the acting was really good. I mean, Sister Jude was just amazing. And Sister Mary Eunice?
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal. Before and after, just an amazing acting turn for her, and you know, just the Asylum was really creepy as well.
It was really layered too. It was this complex spider web of all these different moving parts that just and it to me, I think another reason it was so significant is it was the anti-sophomore slump. You know, American Horror Story didn't come back and rest on their laurels, which, you know, I feel like if they would have went from Murder House to Coven, some people may have been able to accuse them of that, or, you know, I think those two are a little bit more thematically linked. But Asylum was just this dark, brooding, layered labyrinth of just fucked upness. But I loved it. It's one of my favorite TV seasons of anything.
Mark, you're next.
Okay, before I give mine, I want to get clarity from Clayton. Did you say that you also liked Hotel?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite out of that. I think Hotel, the end of it. Well, I liked, you know what, I'll say I like the middle. the part
Okay.
where it was like the flashbacks with Gaga as a old timey movie star and this and that. I actually like that part, and I know some people ragged on it, but as a whole, it's okay.
Okay, because you kind of proved my theory that I've been having. And this is before I give I just want to put this out because I'm a big American Horror Story geek, and so I was a fan of this show when they announced it in the trades. So when they turned around and when Murder House came out and they did the whole, we're going to do this anthology thing, I noticed that a lot of people came on during Asylum. So for a lot of people, and I would like to gauge y'all's, get y'all's point of view, because for me, a lot of people came on during Asylum. They didn't like Murder House, they didn't like Coven, they didn't like Freak Show. Oh, let me take that back. They liked Freak Show, didn't like Hotel, tolerated Roanoke, and it just seems to me like some people's first season of American Horror Story was Asylum, and they're very, very protective over Asylum. But for me, I was the opposite. I actually thought that when I watched Asylum when it first came on, I thought that it was a great season, but a lot of people hated the way it ended. They just left it, and everything was just like it was a sloppy ending. But it wasn't. It had a perfect ending, and I think that because those people who shitted on Asylum's ending are the ones who are crying that it's the best season ever since the show's been in inception. But for me, my favorite season, I hate because it's like picking children. Can I do a tie?
No,
because I could have given a 3-way tie and I didn't.
This will be the whole podcast, so we can pick two. You guys, we got
okay. Because I'm going to go ahead and say my favorite season so far is
You can give a shout out because I gave a shout out to the other two that I would have picked as number one.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go to the back of the line on that one. Okay, continue.
Okay, number one for me be Coven, and then 2 shout outs, Murder House and Roanoke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Asylum is still it's like a close, but I'm not gonna do that to y'all. I'm sorry, Priscilla. I'm sorry. Cause this is my baby. This is my heart.
Mark is picking them all.
Yes, there you go.
I think just to throw my second out there, it would probably be Roanoke. I think Roanoke was gruesome. It was fucking, especially toward the end of it, was just. I have complaints about the ending of that, but the fact, and I didn't even know that until you just said it, Mark. The fact that people, excuse me, are complaining about how Asylum ended. Are you fucking see? What show are you watching? That was the perfect ending. Like that was, mwah, oh my god, like.
I had to explain to a friend of mine the other night. They're like, I don't understand, like, what's the whole thing with the kids? I'm like, they're aliens. They're half alien. One child went to become a neurologist. The other one went to become a professor in history, world history. So that way they could keep track of the human, they're studying humans. So what's the better way to study a human instead of a human's history and then their biological, their neurology?
Are you pen pals with them?
Kids?
No, I'm teasing you.
Oh.
He's like, I'd be really concerned if you said yes to that. I'd be like, uh-oh.
That's too funny. All right, Priscilla, let us know.
I'm gonna go opposite to what most of you guys picked. I'm gonna go for classic Murder House. Like, I love ghost stories. Ghost stories are what freak me out the most. And just like the whole ambiance about it, like how like kind of creepy it was, just was the best. It was between that one and Roanoke. I love both of those. But yeah, Murder House. Definitely Murder House.
Same with the classics. Respect.
I like it. All right, so before we get into a thorough recap of the latest episode of American Horror Story Cult, here's our announcer with a few special announcements.
Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo radio podcasters discussing some of your favorite television shows. Visit poppychuloradio.com/podcasts for a complete list of all the podcasts that we produce. You will get up-to-date information on whether the podcast is currently releasing new episodes or if it's on hiatus. You will also be able to click a link to either take you to Apple Podcasts or the Poppy Chulo Radio archives to download the podcast. To binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio podcasts, visit poppychuloradio.com/podcasts. Would you like to be one of the podcasters on this podcast discussing your favorite television show? Email talent@poppychuloradio.com. We are always looking for new voices to add to our collection of podcasts. To become a co-host, you must be at least 18 years old. You must be comfortable sharing your opinions. And you must be comfortable using Skype. There's no podcast experience required. So if you think you have what it takes to be a Poppy Chulo Radio on-air personality, email talent@poppychuloradio.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
This is a Poppy Chulo Radio special announcement. PoppyChuloRadio.com is currently looking to expand its web presence, and we're looking for your help. If you're a fan of Poppy Chulo Radio and its signature series, please visit GoFundMe.com/PoppyChuloRadio and help us with our campaign. Every dollar amount donated will be improving the Poppy Chulo Radio experience and making it more interactive and user-friendly. We thank you in advance for your support. This has been a Poppy Chulo Radio special announcement. We now return you to our regularly scheduled programming.
Thanks, announcer. So let's get into it, and we get a little bit of a history of the American 2016 presidential election as it's unfolded in the media. We saw clips of basically the candidates announcing their run and sort of like the campaign trail up until election night, and that's where we catch our first glimpses of like our characters for this season. We see Allie and Ivy sort of freaking out about the returns, and elsewhere in town we see Kai sort of elated at the outcome. Donald Trump, of course, is
Sort
elected.
of elated?
Well, very
He
elated.
watched TV.
Yes. So we see Donald Trump is elected president, and Allie, out of the couple of Allie and Ivy, sort of takes it the hardest, and she freaks out. We see their son Ozzy sort of like wondering, does this mean that my mommies will no longer be together as a family and all this kind of stuff? And over on the other side of town, Kai is so excited. As Priscilla mentioned, he humps the television. He grounds up Cheeto into a powder in the blender and Cheetofies his face in tribute to Trump, even with the mannerisms, the voice, huge, bigly, and all that kind of stuff. Kai's sister is named Winter, and she's depressed. She had campaigned for Clinton, and when Kai sort of scares her, they do this thing. I guess it's something that they've always done as kids. They pinky ring each other, and basically Winter's like, she's scared, and Kai says everyone's scared. So that's the opening of American Horror Story Cult. Let's talk about it. What do we think of the opening scene? Giving us a flashback to the presidential election and then seeing election night from two very different perspectives. And let's start off with you, Priscilla.
Man, I loved that. It brought back like that sense of like, what the hell is gonna happen now? Like, what's our world gonna look like tomorrow? Like that sense of, well, I guess like fear in the back of our minds. And you see it from the fact that you see it from both perspectives, from somebody who's really elated that Trump went, holy crap, I started cracking up when he started humping the TV and when he started dusting the Cheetos. It was funny as hell. Which, it's odd. I've never laughed at American Horror Story, but that was just over-the-top cheesiness, and I loved it.
Everyone else, feel free to jump on in. What did you think of the opening of American Horror Story Cult?
I thought it was the best one ever because, like I said, it laid out everything right there, and even the little nuances going on between each different faction or on the political spectrum. You know, the whole Jill Stein thing where the Chins, the Asian couple, you know, you had them. He was talking about how 10,000 votes with Jill Stein, that could have been a big help to Hillary Clinton, but it's a protest vote. Then his wife comes out like, it's okay. And then he snaps at her because she was too busy to go and vote. So you had protest voting people not assuming that Trump was going to win. Even Kai didn't think Trump was going to win. He looked like he just breathed a sigh of relief. Like, yes, thank God. And so it's kind of like this, like you can also see the shift, like from the liberals over here who have been like enthralled by the, you know, the era of Obama, you know, and then you got like the tables turning almost literally over at the Anderson house, and he's like having this big celebratory dance, and his sister's upstairs depressed, and just like everything was just laid out. And I got so much from that from that opening that gave me ideas what was to come for later on in the episode and then throughout the entire season.
Darnell, what about you? Darnell is not in the United States, so give us the international point of view.
The international point of view. I thought it the opening represented and showed how people really felt about what was going on. I think, honestly, everyone outside of the U.S. was not supporting Donald Trump to be president.
That is such a relief to hear. Oh my God. Oof. Okay.
Yeah. Darnell loved Jill Stein.
That is a different subject. Let's here.
From the outside, it was like, you know, like it was like a little Twilight Zone going on across there, and everyone was like outside of that bubble, kind of just looking at what was going on. So I guess it did represent what was going on, and it did leave you feeling like wondering what's to come if it's like the beginning of the apocalypse. So yeah, it did leave me feeling intrigued to see what was going on for the rest of the season.
Clay, what about you?
Yeah, you know, one thing I want to point out right off the back is that this season of American Horror Story cold opens with just raw footage of the election and the process leading up to it. And the only editing that they do is in terms of mashing the clips together and music, but what we saw was what we all experienced. And, you know, Darnell, here in America, I feel like a lot of us are experiencing exactly that, you know, kind of how you're describing the, you know, how it's perceived in the episode, and that we are uncertain and we are scared. And, you know, I was thinking before I did this podcast because I don't want to get super political, but this really represented and encapsulated the anxiety, the dread, the trauma that America experienced last November. So much of this beginning scene was just refreshing to see it, because so much of this, contrary to what people say, a lot of news media outlets try to be neutral and they try to this and that. Ryan Murphy had a blank canvas, and to me, he just completely knocked it out of the post. One thing I did love was Ivy going, or not Ivy, but Allie like, "Fuck you, Nate Silver, suck a dick, Huffington Post," or whatever she said, because I felt let down by them too. Both of those sources were ones that I admittedly had more respect for pre-election. So that dread, the anxiety, the claustrophobia of all of it, I really think held a mirror up to us. And I think I'm interested to see where this goes. They've set us up to where I'm wondering what the moral, with air quotes, that you guys can't see, of this story may be. So far, the people who we're seeing who are the antagonists are the people who sympathize with Donald Trump and et cetera. And It's interesting, and it's timely, and it's edgy, and it's exciting. And, you know, the questions that it raised are questions I'm eager to get answered.
Yeah, those are all really interesting questions to ask, and I think we will be getting answers to those as the season progresses. I echo what everyone has said so far. I thought it was a really strong opening. It was interesting because I noticed that too, Clay, that like the opening moments were like real life clips from the news and from cable news, and I'm like, good grief, it was a horror story, wasn't it? Because like we're like seeing, you know, going back, and it seems like it was ages ago.
It does.
But it
oh my
really
God,
was
such a good point.
About a year ago. I was just watching the news, and not to veer off into politics, but like they were talking about James Comey getting fired, and for me it felt like he was fired like in February or something. He was just fired in May.
Fired 6 years ago.
It was just May. It's crazy how, because so much keeps on coming out in the news, just like keeps on pumping out like everything that's happening and every single tweet and every single scandal, it really does feel like it was ages ago. So, but veering back into the show, I thought it was a strong opening as well, and like Mark stated, like we basically see our entire cast of the season, the main characters, the series regulars, in that opening segment for the most part. This is the smallest cast, I believe, ever of series regulars. There are only 5 series regulars this season. Everyone else is either recurring or guest stars. So to see the majority of our cast in those opening moments was really nice to see, because we also sort of got the chance to see the relationships and see where they stand basically so far. So usually what we've done in the past is, especially in a premiere podcast recording, we always discuss the actual opening of the show because it changes every season, and last year was the first season that they didn't have some sort of theme song opening. You know, we didn't get a new version of the doom 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 and that kind of thing as we're used to. So let's discuss this opening. What did you all think of the opening credits for this iteration of American Horror Story? And let's start off with you, Mark.
Boy, I just gotta say right off the bat, last year when we didn't get an opening credit sequence, I was not a happy camper. I was like all in my feelings and pissed and all this shit. So just seeing.
So you were like Allie.
Yes, pretty much. I was like Allie last year when American Horror Story premiere. I was like, oh no, they gave us a title card. And that was it, because I was scared that they were going to tell Ryan Murphy, like, everybody else is not doing opening credits no more, so you're going to have to, like, exit out. But thankfully we got them back, though. But I like it. I like the new variation of the American Horror Story theme. I think the scariest part of the whole entire opening credit sequence is when the guy puts the Donald Trump mask on and then turns the camera. I pulled a Regina from Scary Movie like, yep, when I saw that for the first time. So that was pretty hot. I'm shocked that they don't have, because I've been so used to them like having all these names pop up in between the...
Yeah. Imus and Angela Bassett.
Exactly.
Or I think we all do, yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And plus it's kinda like left a big hole in them. Like, y'all could have spread them out. They kinda smushed the first 4 names into the first part of the opening credits. Y'all could have spread them out like y'all did for Murder House. But I liked it. I mean, it was kinda like the ants and flies going in between out the holes and stuff, just really enhanced that whole I cannot pronounce that phobia to save my neck. I think it's trypophobia or something like that. The fear of holes and like small.
Yeah, like in the regular exercise pattern.
Yeah, so that was creepy, and the clowns and everything. So yeah, it was pretty good.
What about everybody else? What did you all think of the opening credits?
It was dope. I liked it. It was foreboding. One thing that stood out to me that I remember thinking back on it is the ending of it, the last 3 seconds. You see the two people with the pinkies intertwined and the handcuffs around their hands. It raised a question for me that, excuse me, I'm actually interested to get you guys' opinion on. I'm wondering if this season is going to be about a cult that exists right now and that it's kind of working behind the scenes of what we're seeing, and, you know, Kai and Winter have already got this established, or if this season is going to be a story about the genesis of a cult. Are we going to see this as the threads come together, and are they going to show us, you know, like the mentality behind people who fall for stuff like that? David Koresh, I think his name, or Duresh, whatever, the dude from Waco, or, you know, your Charles Manson's. I'm interested to see, is this about something that already exists that they're doing, or are we going to see the building, the construction of this cult? What do you guys think?
I don't know it's going to go down. I'm sorry.
We see like that group of clowns, and like I kind of feel like if they're already a grouping, that means that the cult is already like has its basis, has its people already. And it's just gonna like that whole fear mongering to see whether like more people join the cult. But as of now, like I think the cult exists.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think something exists. Yeah, definitely.
There was a time jump, because I noticed that when Ivy told, you know, Allie, like, yeah, you haven't been here since election night. And so it would been enough time for some people to get together. And
there was a big time jump. We're getting way ahead, but at some point later on, she looks at her phone in the tweets, and it said March. So time has passed. I think each time we saw Allie or even Kai, you know, time had passed, a little bit more time had passed, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So any other thoughts on the opening credits? Besides, like, the lack of stars. Like, they were interesting. If you know at all, like, ahead of time, if you researched a bit ahead of time of, like, what Allie's phobias are, you see them all in the opening credits. You see the coulrophobia, her fear of clowns. You see a little bit of claustrophobia. You see, obviously, the election. You see her hemophobia. She has a fear of blood. You see the trypophobia, the fear of holes in irregular patterns and shapes. So you see all of that in the opening, which was really interesting. And it was kind of neat to see a more real opening credits, because like in the past we've seen like Freak Show, it was almost like claymation, and in other seasons it's usually sort of like symbols and that kind of stuff. Like we don't always see like real people, I feel like, in the openings. I'm trying to remember. Coven.
Yeah, we do
a little bit in Coven, yeah.
And I think there are a couple of people in Hotel that were like sewn into mattresses and doing other horrific things.
Yeah, but a lot of that were some of the creatures, because we saw the people in the beds and stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like, what happens in those opening credits is they kind of go through like the larger mythology of that season.
Yes.
For example, like Bastion, I think his name was, Marie Laveau's ex-boo, whatever. I don't know if they were married or what they were.
Minotaur.
Maybe they were just chilling. That's their business. I won't get into that. I'm interested to see now in this season. It already feels, if I had to describe this pilot in one word, the one word that really stuck in my head was claustrophobic. The way that it's shot, how close it is all, they do a really, really good version of showing what a panic attack is. Like that, I feel like a lot of people who have experienced panic attacks, and myself included, luckily I don't, deal with them as much anymore, but the world really does, obviously, not shrink like that, but they did a really good job of helping the audience feel what that's like. I do hope that they don't overuse that, though, like that whole thing, because it could get very, like, that's so Raven, and then it's like, okay, never mind.
Agreed.
That's so Raven. Oh, good grief. This might be a little bit personal to ask, so it's up to any of you if you want to answer it.
How dare you?
I know. Do any of you have any of the phobias that were discussed in the episode? Like, as I mentioned, the coulrophobia, the fear of clowns, claustrophobia, agoraphobia was another phobia that Allie has. The blood phobia, hemophobia, or trypophobia, the fear of irregular patterns or clusters of small holes or bumps.
I think that's why the opening didn't get to me at all, because I have none of those phobias. So I was just kind of there, just like, okay, well they mixed up the music. That's pretty cool. Like usually something about the opening like freaks me out. Like something about it is like the mattresses, like the people sewn into mattresses in like the hotel, like that freaked me out. But like in this one, it's just more like, well, okay, I guess this is pretty scary for some people. And I was just sitting there waiting for me to like feel like that tingling down my spine of like, something that freaks me out. But nope, none of that. Not scared.
I have dealt with mild agoraphobia before, but I don't really feel like that was present. And that's like the big open spaces, or for me, it's more like extremely large crowds. I like watched a ton of 24 in high school, and I feel like it ruined my brain. So like whenever I'm around a massive group of people, I just like picture different potential. It's just fucking weird, but yeah, out of the rest of them, no. The trypophobia, whatever, the circle, the weird irregular circles, it is gross to me. I'm not afraid of it, but I will say it is unsettling. I was reading articles about that leading up to this recording, and they had pictures of it, and I'm just like, it is repulsive. It's not something that would prevent me from going somewhere, or, would like scare me like they used to do on Maury when they would bring out like the Jello or the chickens and stuff, and they would run across the stage. But it is gross. What do you guys think about what is it, trypophobia? Am I saying that right?
I think it's trypophobia.
Or
trypophobia. Phobia, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I would echo your sentiment. I don't have the phobia though, but it does unnerve me a little bit when especially if it's like grotesque. You know what I'm saying? Like you see a beehive, or you see
coral.
That doesn't like freak me out, but if it's something of the human flesh, then yeah, I'm gonna get a little wigged out. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, like even the coral in the it still kind of gross to me. I'm just like, my brain is like, you don't like that, but it doesn't give me any other explanation, so I'm just gonna left with that.
Okay. And nothing for you, Darnell?
No, I don't have any of those phobias.
Okay.
No.
High five, Darnell. I'm the same way here, so.
I don't need those three-way high
I want to hear what
five.
phobias you guys do have.
That's another discussion for a very different
that's
podcast.
another podcast.
Yeah. What are we really scared of? Okay. So we get our first glimpse at Twisty the Clown in a long time. And the scene starts off as if we're, I guess, watching the episode, something that's going on in the series, but we actually learn at the end that what we're seeing is sort of like the real life depiction of a graphic novel, a graphic comic book type of thing that's based on Twisty the Clown. And what we're seeing is sort of like a modern man and woman getting freaky during a picnic, and the ghost of Twisty basically killing them both. And they give a little bit of a shout out and a callback to season 4 of American Horror Story, the Freak Show season, because they discuss something that actually happened in that season that we saw. We saw a couple on a picnic, get killed by Twisty
it was Grace from
the Clown.
Scream Queens.
It was Grace from Scream Queens. When I rewatched that scene, because I forget, one of the websites, it might have been Entertainment Weekly, was like, this is the scene from Freak Show that you need to see to, catch up and be ready for Cult. It was that scene, and I was like, oh, that was her from Scream Queens, and I didn't even recognize her. They did a really great job with the makeup and the costuming to make her look old-timey. So, okay, let's discuss the reintroduction of Twisty the Clown as a comic book star. What did y'all think of seeing Twisty again?
It
What
was.
the hell is a 6-year-old doing reading those comic books?
Yeah,
I know, because
get
the
it.
man was like about
100%
to...
has his own Prime account.
He does, because that man was about to go to town downtown, and I'm like, little kids are not supposed to be reading about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alice was like, this a stiff penis or a. I'm like, girl, what type of parent? Okay,
Well, because she's supposed to be like that really progressive mom. Where it's like, oh, if you're looking at like a nudie magazine, it's okay, but just please don't do it, basically.
But he's 6. I can see if the kid was like, maybe a 10 or 11 or 12 or some shit. But,
Yeah.
but 6. Now you got to sit there and watch him when he goes somewhere and goes to somebody's house and stuff. And I don't know, but it was a very refreshing. Because I always felt that if you haven't seen Freak Show, spoiler alert for those who haven't, because that's, believe it or not, people have not seen Freak Show yet.
Priscilla.
No, not before I knew Priscilla. I'm talking about people who.
Oh, okay.
Priscilla,
I thought you were subtly throwing shade at Priscilla.
I know. This is an American Horror Story podcast. You just like, you know what? One day.
I was looking up Priscilla's name. It was somebody else I talked to.
Oh,
Priscilla,
okay.
second or third person told me they're not seeing Freak Show. And one of the reasons why the other people told me they did not see Freak Show, because they have a fear of clowns. And so they knew Twist was going to be a big part of that. And so they just decided to just not watch it. I said, that's cool. But the reason why I said some people have not seen it, because I do respect people who've not seen stuff. But what I'm trying to say is that if you haven't seen Freak Show, Twisty is taken out of the picture real early on in the show. And it was, to me, a personal blow to the whole entire season. Because I just not care no more.
Mm-hmm.
But so seeing him again, I was like, yes, but I was hoping to God that they were going to give us more than the damn scene saying, oh, he's a comic now, so it's an urban legend, because I was hoping that he would be a big part of the show. And with Ryan Murphy saying that there's no supernatural element in the show this season, I was kind of let down. So I'm pretty sure we're just going to get like scenes from the comic book or the little doll we can see later on the season and stuff. So. But Priscilla, that was no shade towards you. I want you to know that. I was want you to know.
Too late. We've already turned on you,
Taking
Priscilla.
so much offense. Oh my god.
That's too much for my life.
JK. It's all love.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know. Like that scene was pretty cool. Like, what, do you guys ever have that moment when you're seeing like what the people that are getting like terrorized by clowns or by like weird shit, and you're just like, run, bitch! What are you doing? Just standing there staring at him. Fucking run! You're skinnier than him. You're probably gonna outlast him if you keep running. Don't hide. What are you doing? And
it's his layer. That was pissed me off.
I was like, aw. She hid and she kept her cell phone ringer on, so that's her own damn fault that she died. Sorry.
I do like that Twisty, like, he ran the way that Twisty runs. Like, that weird spread my arms and...
The wiggle?
Yeah.
I think that was John Carroll Lynch, actually.
It was, yes. He's listed in the credits. So I like that, they kept him running the same kind of weird kind of way.
Can I tell you guys something? This is going to sound so fucking nerdy. Right when I saw that scene, do you know what one of my first takeaways was? I was like, oh my god, I would read the shit out of that comic book. Like, I wish that was real. Well, I can dream. Or I can watch him read it, which is the next best thing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the next scene, we see more of Kai. And Kai delivers a speech about basically humans and humanity being scared, and how fear can be basically taken advantage of by people in power, so that the people without power that are fearful, they will run to whoever is in power and basically do whatever that person says or decides, because they're that scared of what's going on. And in any other show, it would be sort of like a whatever scene type of thing, but obviously this speech, introduces us into what Kai believes in, and it's, in my opinion, sets up whatever plan he's putting into motion, because he's there basically to discuss with the city council like why more police should not be hired to protect a Jewish community center. And so he's delivering this speech about fear, let people blow it up because people will be more scared. And when he gets basically rebucked by one of the council members, Tom Chang, Ali and Ivy's neighbor, Kai says that basically, what's like the most scariest thing out there, or what's the worst thing to have out there, it's a man that has been humiliated. And Kai has just been humiliated. And to be quite honest, not to get all political, but one of the things that has been reported on is the fact that Donald Trump decided that he was going to run for president during the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, when then President Barack Obama basically did all these jokes about Trump, allegedly. So
I remember that.
Yes. So let's talk about Kai and his speech to the Brookfield Heights City Council.
Can I just say something right off top? What a dumb piece of shit. If you watched that scene and found yourself agreeing with him, think about this. What he was there protesting was more police policing a Jewish community center. It's just ridiculous. And, one thing I think I'm sorry, you guys, I'm just feeling super blunt tonight, but I want us all, I feel like, because we're all kind of, tiptoeing around it and talking about the politics. I don't think any of us is here to push an agenda, but on a show that is so hyper-focused on the political climate in America, and we would be kidding ourselves. We can't not talk about it. Otherwise, so I think we can try to do our best to, remain neutral in some regards. But this just infuriated me. I'm like, you dumb son of a bitch. I am so sick of seeing individuals like him emboldened and feel like this is their time and that there's become this revolution it's just horse shit. I'm sorry, I cussed a whole bunch during that. Children, I'm sorry.
It's supposed to evoke feelings like that. You're supposed to see somebody like that talking and be reminded that because of the recent change in political climate, every freaking person is coming out of the woodwork thinking that they can talk like this, they can be like this, that it's acceptable.
And that's Kai. I mean, that's Kai in a nutshell, because his actions from that point on, even when he was celebrating the election and stuff like that, the win for Donald Trump, it's like he said freedom. He said freedom. And in his mind, it was freedom to just do or say whatever the hell he wanted to do, and there would be no repercussions about it because Donald Trump is now president. Now, I'm going to play some serious devil advocacy here. It's kind of a mirror, and I don't want people coming for me saying that, oh, you're this, but the thing is, it's kind of like, the whole song, My President is Black, da 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 da. In a way, it's kind of a mirror to that, if you think about it, because it's so it's like when you have people, this is devil advocacy, because I'm thinking on the lines of
No, I hear you. I want to hear you out for sure.
No, because it's like I don't agree with what he's doing, but I guess it feels like people were empowered to come out and say some of the things they want to say, all because the president is black. Barack Obama is black. He's a black president. We can go do all this stuff, and we can. But it was along the lines of like, yeah, he's a black president, but he is the president of the United States of America, not the president of the black people of the United States of America. Because, and I put that on the table because now I'm going to take the devil advocacy out. I put it on the table because when Obama was getting ready to leave office, I read a lot of articles saying like, because it goes back to the reason why Trump won and why he had there was a low turnout numbers in certain communities and whatnot, because a lot of people felt that Barack Obama didn't do a lot for them and their communities and whatnot. And so when you have people who had that mentality, it's kind of like a mentality like Kai has, where you can go and just do whatever because I'm going to be protected because a certain person in office that agrees with my ideals and share the same skin tone or the same, rhetoric or something like that. And they get that rude awakening that, that's not the case. So I think on Kai's situation, he has become emboldened, but I'm pretty sure this is my first prediction of the night. Later on down the line, he's going to realize that, it's not all going to be like, it's not going to be as easy and peasy as you think it's going to be. It's going to be some pushback and all this stuff.
Well, yeah, if the show continues with the timeline that we're all living, I think Kai's character is poised to be really disappointed because factually, and I can say this with complete, editorial confidence, Donald Trump has had few to none legislative accomplishments. And there are some critics of his who are actually some of his supporters. Now, that's a really, really small number. But to the people, I can see what you were saying, Mark, by playing devil's advocacy. My response to it is this. Kai is a cisgendered, straight, white male in America. He doesn't get to be empowered. When wasn't he empowered? When wasn't his class or that demographic or somebody who meets those standards? So it's like to me, it's like, how are you emboldened? You're not the sub-society. You aren't the marginalized people. You aren't the disenfranchised. You are not this, and that. And all of this like anti-Semitic and anti-gay and anti-black and anti-Muslim rhetoric is just abhorrent. It's reprehensible and it's anti-American. I'm sorry. I am just I took a little bit of a left towards the end, but
no, Clay,
I'm just fucking pissed.
No, I agree with you because I was mad. I was like, he is really doing the most because the scene that irked me, two scenes when he sat there and sloshed that latte on Ivy and Allie. I'm like, why y'all still standing? Y'all should be whipping his ass. He would not have got 2 steps away from me after that happened. And then later on, he does something else was kind of crazy. But I said the same thing. I said, Kai represents those who claim to be disenfranchised during the Obama presidency, but they cannot prove in any shape, way, or form how they were disenfranchised.
They have nothing to point to. How
they have nothing to point
let
to.
down?
You still had a job. You still was able to go and use, your white privilege or anything like that. Those who are, saying they were disenfranchised, I'm like, you're still working.
They're also on the better half of the wage gap, too.
Exactly. So I'm like, how can you tell me you were disenfranchised? So many people were saying, we got to listen to both sides. I've been listening to both sides for 34 years of my entire life. So tell me what's different. I clearly missed right now. So I don't like Kai, if y'all already tell.
Yeah, Kai's a little bitch, but Evan Peters is playing him really good. He instantly, it's hard to establish a villain that menacing in that short amount of screen time because he honestly wasn't in that episode that much.
That's true. That's true. Let's talk a little bit about Allie. So Allie visits her therapist. Her therapist is Rudy, and they discuss her fears because ever since the election, all of her fears that she felt she had finally either overcome or, they were sort of like put in check have come back. And it's all the fears that we discussed earlier in the podcast recording. And she credited Ivy as well as President Barack Obama and her therapist for calming her down and allowing her to overcome her fears. But now that Trump is in office, all of those fears have come back and in full force. So her therapist prescribes her some medication and tells her to get off of social media. He got off of social media. He put himself into fitness, and he's focusing on that instead of like getting a constant barrage of news that, as he put, he has no control over. So later on, we see her go to the grocery store, and she runs into one of the cashiers. They didn't say his character's name in the episode, but his character is Gary Longstreet. And it turns out he's an MAGA hat-wearing Trump supporter. There's no one in the grocery store, per the cashier. Everyone's watching the president speak. And as she's making her purchases, she becomes increasingly more and more paranoid. And, she starts to get a bit affected as she's shopping around. She sees clowns behind her that, in the mirror, I should say, but when she turns around, they are no longer there. And then she even sees a pair of clowns having sex in the produce section. Then she gets chased by clowns throughout the aisles. The music that's playing in the grocery store changes to like this hard rock, and she starts using bottles of rosé to defend herself. There's even one clown that's got a knife that's like ready to attack her. And then she escapes. She runs terrified to her car. She ends up calling Ivy and telling her about what's going on. But then she realizes that there is a clown in the back seat, and she panics and drives into a light post or something, that type of thing that you see at the grocery parking lot. And she gets, I guess, knocked out by the impact and the airbag. So, just to wrap up this little section, apparently there isn't any evidence to support any of what Allie experienced in the store. The cashier says that she just freaked out and started throwing bottles of rosé. There's no evidence, at least per the police, of like any clowns fornicating with the melons or near the melons or clowns anywhere and that kind of thing. And yeah. So, let's break this down.
Real?
Yeah, what did you all think of like this section of the show?
I think we may have an untrustworthy narrator.
You think so?
I think right out of the back, we, I almost called her Shelby, you guys, which I think is kind of meta because that's who I think she reminds me of. Holy shit. But Allie, I think she has a lot of that. I think that Allie and Kai are caricatures. They both are kind of the cartoonish version of how the other side of the political spectrum.
The snowflake progressive and
yes,
the racist.
And she only drinks like fair trade milk, where the cows get their udders, with shiatsu massages.
There you go.
Fair trade yarn and the whole nine. Not to knock those people, that's your gig, hey, do you? It's just, not particularly, I'm not a fan of Whole Foods or like ironic facial hair, so it's just not really my gig. There you go.
So the snowflake progressive and the ist conservative, the ist, or the ism, with all the isms, racism, misogynistic, homophobic, conservative. On the other side with Kai. Xenophobic and all that kind of stuff.
He represents the worst and most base instinct of us, which is that's strange, that's different, that isn't what I'm used to, so it's bad, it's wrong, it's scary. And it's the same thing that got our current president elected. So I can't sit here and tell you it's an ineffective strategy because it's not. You got somebody in the White House, which that makes it an objectively good strategy. You won the largest popularity contest, arguably, or the most important maybe, especially for us. And I think one recurring theme throughout this episode, and it made me think that this may be a season-wide theme, was the idea of fear-based leadership and how, yes, it is effective, but ultimately it doesn't last. It just doesn't work. And especially, what I'm interested to see is if the story that we're watching now is going to catch up with the rest of the stuff that we've seen. Like, are we going to see James Comey? Are we going to see like tweets from Trump? I know that they're not supposed to be, a huge part of the season, but Kai has banked so much of this first episode into Trump, and a lot of people, have aptly pointed out that there aren't a lot of legislative or, huge victories under the Trump administration's belt. So I'm wondering if we're going to see that divide here on American Horror Story.
I was going to answer there, but I was going to say 2 or 3 things first. One, Allie is a complete and utter mess. She kind of annoyed me, but I love Sarah Paulson, so I think that was the whole. I think that's kind of the point, because everybody else around her is going by what she's telling them, and so she's damaged, neurotic, hypocritical. She's tragic, and it's just like she's like completely flawed, which makes her a great character. But kind of like you said earlier, Clay, about how, or was it Jeff? I don't know which one. One of you guys said that they can't keep doing that when she sees a clown or she sees, any type of her phobia. Just the whole camera starts, getting.
The That's So Raven moment. Clay mentioned that.
Although
I like it because I think it's a really neat trick to sort of like put us in her perspective and like what she feels.
Oh yeah, it's completely effective. But I just wonder if on episode 8, if we've seen it so many times, is it going to have the same emotional punch?
Exactly.
That's just the point I'm raising.
And that's my point too. The second thing I want to bring up, because I want to say it, but I'm scared if I say it, we'll be jumping ahead too far, so I'm gonna save that one. But it has something to do with what actually happened in the store and the sources of who told, because it's only 2 people.
Oh yes, I have theories as well.
So that's the thing with that. And then the third thing was to talk about what Clay just said about fear and whatnot. Because it kind of reminds me of Charles Manson.
Oh yeah, that fucker.
Because I was listening to a podcast and they were pretty much giving detailed.
Was this the last podcast on the left?
No, this is you must remember this, and they had a 10-part Charles Manson. I keep calling him Charlie. Charles Manson.
You're very comfortable. You and Charles Manson are on really good terms.
I call him Charlie on the weekends.
Because I think in the podcast they called him Charlie or something like that. Just because it was 10 parts. It showed you how he built up the cult that he had and how it all fell apart.
He just wanted to be a fucking musician, man. That's all. And all of this shit happened because he was bored and did a bunch of drugs. His life is fascinating, and I think we're going to see Evan Peters play him, right?
If you think about stuff like that, then Hitler really just wanted to go to art school and be an artist. Like, people can want a whole bunch of shit. Doesn't mean that they should get it.
No. By no means does Charles Manson's professional ambitions undo the horrific, weird sex murder crimes that followed in the family later. Just for the record, I want that a public statement. I'm not giving Manson a fucking pink slip at all.
Yeah.
That's too much. Y'all are killing me. Okay. So we're going to get into theories and stuff on what we think in a moment, because we do have a little bit more to cover, and I do want to hear what y'all have to say. I am also of the mindset of can we trust Allie as a narrator? Because I'm a whole lot of stuff is happening that everyone says isn't happening, but I have my own theory as to why things are happening and why everyone else doesn't think they're happening. And I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say about it when we discuss it. So, continuing on with the story. So, Allie and Ivy end up deciding to find a new nanny for their son, Ozzy, because their former nanny / housekeeper left after the election, and Allie, who used to like really be into their business. It's a restaurant, the Butchery on Main. But ever since the election, Allie hasn't been, working at the business and whatnot. And so Allie promises Ivy that she will focus more on the business. Ivy is a chef, so Ivy's like in the back of the restaurant, and Allie's supposed to be in the front of the restaurant. And so they also get into a discussion about the election again, as far as like who Allie voted for. Allie voted for Jill Stein, and that's when they encounter Kai out on the street, who spills his coffee on both of them. And then Allie puts out a ad for the nanny, and Kai's sister, Winter, arrives, and we see Kai prepping Winter for this, and we see Winter, saying all the right things to, get Allie and Ivy's approval. And during Kai's interview with Winter, we learn a lot of Winter's secrets, including the fact that she's terrified of her brother. And Winter ends up getting the job as Oz's new nanny. And to finish off with Kai, before we sort of, break things down, we see Kai taunting a group of Latin men, and he throws a condom filled with urine at them to provoke them, and they beat the shit out of him. But all of this served a greater purpose, because we see someone, I'm going to assume Winter, filming the whole ordeal. So, we'll pause right here, and let's discuss Kai and how he's worming his way into the lives of Allie and Ivy, as well as Kai with the urine.
That is my only question that I have moving forward with the season. Why them? Why is he targeting them? To me, that's the big question for me. Out of all that we've talked about, we're going to talk about is why is he targeting them? And I'm thinking it has something to do with, either has something to do with a previous connection that maybe in her neurotic state, Allie's not aware of, or it's something else that we just don't pick up. We probably not going to pick up on until like the last minute or something. But yeah, I mean, he went from 0 to infinity, because when he threw that piss on them Latin men, I was like, yep, they're going to fuck them up as they should. I was not expecting somebody to be reporting it. So that lets me know that he is really about to build this fear group. Well, this, everything clicked for me when I saw the camera, because I'm like, okay, he's got a big plan. Mm-hmm. Especially when Winter went to because I'm thinking like you sloshed them with latte on purpose. You sent Winter to go be their nanny. Like, it just seemed like this reconnaissance or something like that going on. That's the thing that's got me perplexed. Like, why them? But can't give everything out in the first serving. So, but that's
It's kind of like how you do that with every like serial killer, with their murder, like with their victims. You're like, why them? Why did you single these people out of the tons that are out there somewhere? And I don't necessarily know whether this show is going to give you a why. Kai's kind of fucking crazy.
I think this all seems very targeted, like almost to a laser point, specific to Allie. If she isn't hallucinating this, if the stuff that she's seeing isn't the direct results of like her mental deterioration and somebody is there and there are people, that is organization of a level that it doesn't seem like he would just pick a stranger off the street. And, you know, I do think that there are some serial killers where even if it's just maybe there's something about Allie, like I think Bundy killed people because they parted their hair a certain way, or, you know, different, it may be some weird thing that brought him, but it seems like the amount of effort, the planning and all of this being targeted at her and infiltrating with Winter, I'm feeling like there's got to be a bigger something. But, you know, maybe there isn't, but I do hope that they show us, like you were saying, Mark, what is this about? And I think, it really is the big question so far for me of the season. The one that kind of hangs above them all is like, why is this happening to her? Is this her brain, or is she being stalked? And then lastly, is it still paranoia if somebody's really out to get you?
Yeah, that's true. There was at one point in the episode where I was like, is this all in her head? There's something that happens later on that I think confirmed for me that this wasn't all in her head. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to see what they do with this. Is this going to be like a Fight Club type of thing where... are Allie and Kai the same person? Burm, burm, burm. Like that would be a mind fuck. But yeah, because at one point I was like, is she hallucinating all this? Or is this real? Or is there like a really large conspiracy about it? I think this is an appropriate time to bring it up because I feel like Mark and I are on the same wavelength. Like, just focusing on her situation in the grocery store, someone knows about her phobias.
Thank you.
So, because I had to rewind it, because Allie at one point was like, they knew about, me and the holes, because they had holes, and I was like, they had holes in it? I guess because that's not one of my phobias, and I'm not scared of that, nor creeped out by it. I didn't realize it, so I rewound it, and I was like, oh, okay. There were a couple of clown masks with irregular holes on it. So I'm like, is the therapist one of the clowns? Then I started looking around to everybody. Is the cashier one of the clowns? Yep. Could Ivy be one of the clowns? I became so paranoid and suspicious about everyone that was in Allie's life after that.
You guys, can I be real? Can we let's get real?
Let's be real, Clay.
Let's break it down. I fucking hate Ivy so far. I don't like her at all.
I'm suspicious of her.
I'm just like,
oh, okay.
She looks like an adult kindergartner to me.
Oh, that's
It doesn't really have
awful.
anything to do with like who she is, but like, I think it's more her mannerisms than it is any like physical attributes. It's just her, I don't know, her personality just bothers me. I'm just like, I know, I'm probably the lone person who feels like that, but I'm just like, man, I'm not an Ivy fan.
I don't like Allie. I feel like she's so pretentious. That whole, I don't like poisoning my body with other chemicals. Like, I'm just like, I've rolled my eyes so hard at that statement.
Yeah.
Like, that's so irresponsible to go off your medication like that. If it's something has been decided for you, you decided for yourself.
And that's why I kind of sympathize with Ivy. And let me explain my stance.
Oh, here we go.
Because it's like Allie herself told her therapist how much Ivy helped her come out of her agoraphobia when 9/11 happened. Like, she was the one who got her to the level that she was pre the election, 2016. Ivy is on rock and everything. But Ivy also knows how, like Priscilla used the perfect word, pretentious Allie could be. Ivy knows how pretentious she can be. Here's the example. First and foremost, like you just said, Clay, she didn't take her medicine. Like, now you know that you need to get well because our world is falling apart because you are deciding not to get the help that we are seeking out for you. That's number one. And then number two is the fact that all this stuff happened election night, right? So in my mind, Allie is probably going through this like self-guilt. Like, I did a protest vote because I couldn't trust Clinton, even though I hate Trump. But I'm going to throw my vote to Jill Stein because Ivy brought that up. And so it goes back to the opening scene when Tom Chin was like, all the votes went to Jill Stein. She had 10,000 votes, and those could have easily helped Hillary take the, da-da-da. And you see the look on their faces, and Alice like, oh my God, is it true? Because she had the realization, like, I probably caused this. I did this. This is my fault. And so I guess from Ivy's standpoint is you kind of, everything that's happening to you, you are bringing upon yourself. And I can do so much, but it's done. Just move on, yada, yada, yada. But I had in my notes, because I told you I had a book of notes. I said that, I'm sorry, yeah, plausible. Go ahead. I'm about to put my notes in because they're all over the place. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Later, Allie thanked Ivy for keeping that fact quiet, but it's apparent that Ivy might not be as forgiving about that throwaway vote that she initially let on. And I said more of the fact that Allie's self-imposed guilt might have enhanced the phobias and brought all her problems onto herself. They're not trusting Hillary despite their hate for Trump. For me, I'm more sympathetic for Ivy than I am of Allie because there's only so much one can take of someone's self-inflicted pain before the cracks begin to form and significant others are resolved. Because it's kind of like she's self-hurting herself, but not physically, but maybe probably like mentally. And Ivy's probably like, I've done everything I can, yada, yada, yada. However, she knows that woman's phobias. She knows that woman's itinerary. You know what I'm saying? So it just seemed to me that it was odd that she, along with the therapist and one other person that Jeff has yet to reveal, all knew, all of the ones who knew something about her phobia, and we're taking their word over hers. So it's kind of suspicious in that level. But that's But I get it. Allie can be very. Ivy can be, especially in what I saw the preview clips, but I'm not going to get into. My sympathy for Ivy might change drastically. It's very, very so. So.
Not everything is as it seems in this show.
Exactly.
For now,
Big time.
I reserve my judgment and say that I don't particularly care for Allie based on the just the hypochondriac, the I don't know, holier than thou attitude. It's kind of annoying, and I feel sorry for Ivy because she kind of has to. She's taking on two jobs at once right now. The job that Allie should be doing at the restaurant, plus being the supportive mom, because Allie can't do that either because she's too busy with her phobias. So balancing all of that at once kind of sucks. And it's hard on a partner, so
exactly.
And I can totally see where she's coming from.
And it's one thing for it to be just them two, but they have a child now, and it's clearly affecting Ozzy to a certain extent. I think that kid is way more, probably because of the progressive upbringing. He's way more intelligent than Winter. I think Winter's going to underestimate that kid, but that's probably later on the story. So.
Okay, well, let's get into Winter and Ozzy, because Winter immediately starts to bond with Oz, especially over his fascination with Twisty the Clown. Earlier in the episode, Ivy took away his Twisty comic book, but Oz is creating his own comic book by drawing one of Twisty's murders. And she ends up taking Oz to a computer, and Winter introduces him to the dark web. Basically websites of murders and whatnot. And at one point Oz is like, I don't think I'm supposed to be watching this. I'm not comfortable seeing all this. But Winter's like, no, you should watch it. It may hurt in the beginning, but you need to get used to seeing this, basically. While that's happening, when Ozzy is alone, he ends up hearing the demented music of an ice cream truck from outside the window, and he peers through the window and sees a group of clowns, the same clowns that Allie saw in the grocery store, exiting the ice cream truck and staring at his house. Elsewhere in the city at the exact same time, while on a sort of romantic tasting, menu tasting type of date night, I guess, for the couple, we see that Allie and Ivy are alone in their restaurant, and Allie is so engrossed in her phone and reading Trump's tweets that she doesn't at all notice who brings her a covered dish to taste, because the whole idea is that Allie's going to be tasting some of Ivy's new menu ideas. And if you paused it, because I rewound it, we saw that it's a clown that brings her the dish.
No way. I totally wasn't paying attention. I saw her tweeting about it. I was watching the whole thing, but I didn't actually take a good look at who delivered it. So I totally thought all of this was in her head. I thought this was the big reveal as to that weird aura, the weird way it was filmed during the grocery scene.
Mm-hmm.
And this scene tied together as it being in her head. But if you're right, and the clown did put in the serving tray there, then maybe she's not as unreliable as I thought she was. Huh.
It was a clown. I paused it. It had the stripes on it, on their arm. And so she, opens up, she lifts up the cover of the tray, and on her plate is mixed greens with fingers in it, and then I don't even know what you would call it. It looks like a patty type of thing that's got holes in it and blood oozing out of the holes. And she immediately freaks out. Ivy comes in and oh no, lies. She freaks out, and then she looks over and she sees the clown that brought her the dish, because this is a clown that's got striped sleeves, jerking off behind the counter. And Allie freaks out some more, and Ivy approaches, and Allie is like, there's someone here, there's a clown, I saw the clown. And so they go throughout the entire restaurant, and no one else is there. Ivy's like, there's no one here. And Allie's like, well, what about this? And so she lifts up the cover again, and now it's the spinach souffle or something that Ivy had made. Now, maybe Allie didn't think of this, but show her the damn thing first, the food, because it was right there uncovered. But she didn't think of that because she was freaking out. And so, basically Ivy has had it at that point, and she's like, what is going on? And Allie's like, am I going insane, basically? So Allie and Ivy are driving home, sort of discussing this. Apparently Allie has not been taking her medication, and there's a whole bunch of police tape in their neighborhood. They stop and, they make sure that Ozzy's okay. Ozzy is fine, and the Chang family has been murdered. And according to Ozzy, Winter allowed Ozzy basically to watch the Changs get murdered by a gang of clowns. And so obviously when Ozzy fills them in, they're freaking out, and Winter's like, no, that's not what happened. We were together and we came outside when the police arrived, and Ozzy, I found this Twisty the Clown comic book. And so then Ivy's like, oh, well, he has night terrors and he doesn't know when he's asleep or awake, or that he's dreaming and whatnot. And so they sort of, they excuse that away. And when Detective Samuels gets asked by the women, like, what happened, he's like, oh, initially he sort of like rebuffs them like he did earlier, where they're, they have to investigate or that kind of thing. But Detective Samuels ends up telling them that it was a murder-suicide, that there isn't any evidence that suggests otherwise. Although, from the perspective of Ozzy, like, Ozzy saw the clowns put some sort of, gang clown sign in blood on one of the walls. So there's that. And later on that night, Allie is in bed. She hears some sort of rumbling in the house, and she calls out for Ivy. And when she turns over in bed, there is what I'm calling him the penis clown, because it looks like he's got dildos all over his face. But the dildo clown is in bed with her.
Is that the one that's the three-headed clown?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's the dildo clown. There's the ball gag clown. There's the one that looks like a ghost clown. There's the demented Joker type of clown. And there's a fifth one that I can't remember now. The one with the brain. Clown. No, yeah. the female one is the ball gag. It looks like she's kinky.
Yeah. Then there's another one who has the one that was in the car. He has the. The website shows you all four of the masks, and the one in the car is the one that's creeping out the most.
Yeah, that was the one that looks like a ghost. That one looked like a ghost to me.
Okay. Oh god.
And then there's the one that was jerking off, which I haven't decided. They look like they got bandages on their face, so we'll call that one bandage. But anyway, let's break this all down from the restaurant to the Changs. What is going on? And Detective Samuels is in on it, right?
Exactly. That's what I was itching at, because I'm like, he was the one who told Ivy, like, they said that the clerk said that you went ballistic, and he's the one who was telling them it was a murder-suicide. We clearly can tell that it was no damn murder-suicide. So he is clearly in on it. And it goes to show that he was in on it, and the damn clerk at the grocery store, because when he put on that Make America's Great Again hat, it was like, okay, you're fucking with her now. And so, because you knew why would you do that at work? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was trying to get it earlier. But with the whole situation at the restaurant, a part of me wants to say that it was both her...
Ivy?
Say it again?
Ivy?
No, Allie, with the restaurant, but hell, it could have been Ivy. But I'm thinking that it was partially Allie's imagination and the stuff that actually happened to her, because it kind of reminds me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When people saw that movie, because you watched that movie and everybody kept saying, oh, that movie's horrible, it's so gory, and that movie has no gory in it if you really look at it, but you're so caught up in the terrorizing experience. So, but her seeing the holes, there probably was holes inside the meat, and then her brain kicked in and just showed her blood when there wasn't any blood. And then the clown was actually there. See what I'm saying? Like, the clown was there. He did bring the stuff to her, or he or she brought the stuff to her, but then her brain took over and making it more than what it was. But the clown was there fucking with her. That's what I thought in the restaurant.
Yeah.
These clowns are horny. I'm just saying.
Very.
Fucking in the produce. Like, as a germaphobe, I was more scared of them fucking in the produce than anything. Because I'm like, none of those produce items are sanitary now. I'm just saying.
For someone who's really like, oh, nobody's scared of like a little bit of penis or something like that, she's real phobic about sex.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might be a clue to something else that probably happened to her.
Mm.
I think it might just be the location. I think, anybody...
Michiganders are horny?
Having sex next to tomatoes might raise an eyebrow. Like, oh, okay, so that happened.
My melons! No, they're unclean.
Why are you jerking off in my restaurant?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel so bad for that kid. That kid's gonna be so fucked up by all of this.
Yeah.
Like, If he's not a
Or
little
he
fucked up
already is.
But did nobody catch the fact that he was like, I shouldn't be watching this, but you're reading a comic called Twisted Clown Chronicles where a man is eating out a woman and then he gets his throat slashed and then it's, so it's like, but you're already there. You're already on that journey. You might as well just continue taking it. So it's just like, it kind of was like, I don't know. He probably felt like he probably shouldn't be watching because he's probably scared that his mom or somebody might come in and be like, you shouldn't be watching stuff like that. Or he probably was just genuinely scared. But I'm like, you have a Twisted the Clown comic in your drawer. So it's like...
Those things are kind of, at least to me, kind of miles apart. Because then by that same logic, you could say that we, all of us here talking, could be potential murderers because we watch American Horror Story.
True,
you know what
true.
I mean?
I give you that one.
It's that whole thing where, like, it's a sliding scale. Like, as a kid, you shouldn't be reading that Twisted comic book, but, like, I know people that, like, let their kids watch, like, Death Note and stuff like that when they were, like, fucking, like, really tiny. And, like, it's
No, it
a thing
isn't
where-
that bad. I'm like thinking back.
And I'm going to take that back. I'm going to take what I just said back. Can I take that back?
No,
No.
it's on the record.
Well, because I'm the same way with, like, horror movies. I'm a big horror head, but if you show me something on Discovery Network when somebody's getting operated on, like somebody coming to the hospital with a spike in between their like neck and their, I tend to freak out. So
Yeah.
because I know that's real.
Yeah,
And-
there's a
and-
difference between, like,
Right.
fake gore and, like, watching someone die, which is
Yeah.
what he was seeing with her. Like, Brandon, like, this is your, what did she call it? She called it
His vaccination.
a vaccination for your brain. I was just like, what the hell sort of shit have you been on? Like, you need vaccinations like that. What the?
It is nuts what is happening. And that, like, literally, one thing that really distressed me about that was that, to me, is like a thing. They played on a fear, like the tiny holes in the regular patterns, yada, yada, or bees or clowns and what have you. Don't really get it for me. But the idea of watching, like, somebody die or a snuff film or seeing a video reel like that is like, even an image would be distressing if you just saw an image. But, he was sitting there watching it. And I don't have kids, but I have to imagine that a lot of parents are looking at that, and that is literally like a materialization of their worst nightmare, the worst thing that their kid could do. When, you look at your child and you see their face lit up by the glow of the laptop, you are hoping that it's Neopets or some shit. That's how long it's been since I know a kid.
Man, you are dating
Shout out to
yourself.
Tamagotchis.
It's all Power Rangers and Neopets, Tamagotchis, and all the cool stuff. But that's my worst fucking nightmare would be I don't watch fight videos. I don't do any of that stuff. I just abhor all of what it is it's sensationalizing violence. It is, and I think her vaccination comment speaks to a little bit. I think in terms of physical, like, harm and stuff, if you see it in a movie, that's fine. There are even studies that support that, there is some therapeutic benefit to seeing that because it's taking your internal fears and making them something that, like, you see it happen and you survive it, you move on and yada, yada, yada. And I think that that's why a lot of people are drawn to horrors because it allows them to, to get that. There's a sense of release that comes with it. And again, like I said at the top of this episode, this is American Horror Story's self-titled album. This is the most American, the most, they really, like, hit all three of the words that are their title. So yeah, we'll see moving on. But there were that to me, that was rough to watch, even though I knew it was fake. Just the idea that was real, or seeing a child of that age watch that stuff, it's just horrifying. It's really scary stuff.
And I was going to also add on to that the fact that, kind of backing up a little bit, when Winter was asking him, so which one's your mommy? He said, they're both my mommy. She said, no, which one carried you while you was a kid? Then she said, but where's your dad? Like, I'm like, so I'm thinking, like, then you went for Hillary Clinton, but you are, like, having no problems being this, demented. And what I'm trying to say is that, like, I guess she turned off her feelings. It felt like Kai was channeling. She was channeling Kai. Like, that was Kai. That wasn't her. That was Kai in like he possessed her or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's what he prepped her to do.
Yeah, he
That's what
probably.
prepped her to say.
Yeah, but it's like she had no. Because you look at Winter.
Well, she's terrified of him.
True. But I just think that because I'm just like the fact that she could turn it off so easily, that she wasn't bothered by it, and then the fact that she's doing all this. She reminds me of Peyton from The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Like she just is in here to wreck shop, and she's very skilled in it. You know what I'm saying? Because at first I'm thinking like you probably have some type of apprehension about what you're doing, like from her standpoint, but it just seems to me that she has no problem whatsoever, because she did say that she couldn't stand children, she's afraid of children, so that might have something to do with it. But at the same time, it's like, but your ideals, you took a year out of school to go campaign for Hillary Clinton, who represents, like, she got started in education. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was her bread and butter. So you have to work with kids in some capacity. Am I making any sense? You know, so it's like you have to, you dedicated a year out of school to follow this woman and her ideals, but you have no problem whatsoever to sit here and destroy a child's mind. You know, so
I wonder if there is a larger game at play that we haven't even begun to see the shape of.
Oh, it has to be.
I'm wondering if she is maybe doing this because there's something, she maybe is like a metaphorical shotgun against her back. Kai may have, and I'm interested to see her motivations, because that is one thing that I thought about too, is the difference between the tenets that like Hillary Clinton ran on, and you know, this and that, versus what we saw. So it definitely seems like she was primed on what she was supposed to go and do and say. But like one thing that I thought was interesting is that they're supposed to be brother and sister, but they were asking her about, or he was asking her about like her childhood. So I'm wondering if like the brother and sister, is that like cult speak, like brother this and that, you know what I mean, or sister yada yada yada. I'm interested to see that.
I think they're blood because I think they have the same last name, if I'm not mistaken. But that doesn't mean anything. But they could be, their parents are probably, probably like Brady Bunch type of situation. But I'm thinking they're blood because I think their hair is like, she have like a bluish tint in her hair too?
Well, I'm going to assume they're both dyed. Hers is kind of grayish and his is bluish.
Yeah, because they have like a twin quality. Their whole pinky finger thing, it's like a twin quality of some sort.
Yeah, the pinky finger thing is weird. I wonder if that might be the cult type of thing.
It includes the theme song.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I had not noticed that at all, Clay, until you mentioned it. And then I was like, yeah, they do the pinky finger thing.
That's what I'm here for, guys. Random knowledge.
Yes.
Useful once every 10 years. I have a fact that is pertinent. So
that's interesting. I wonder what that means, and will the cult members have to do that? And I don't know. I'm fascinated. I'm curious to see what's going to go on. Because the Changs got murdered by the clowns, that's when I was like, okay, the clowns are real.
Yeah.
I think what they were doing, the writers they're making a bit of a play at the auditing process, the Scientology does, where they, at least that is how I interpreted that scene, where they sit you down, and then for our listeners, if you're not familiar with it, in the religion of Scientology, you go through, I believe it's called auditing, which is where you sit down across from somebody who is an established member of the Church of Scientology, and then essentially they run you through the most painful, humiliating, embarrassing, or memorable moments of your life. And then there has been some controversy with the Church of Scientology, and I'm wondering if we'll see this echoed in, cult, is if we are going to see the kind of, I'm trying to like circle around this because some people really, really do believe in Scientology, but there's been a lot of stuff about manipulation and about potential blackmail and about that specific process, the auditing, when people, in an effort for like spiritual clarity are really confessing all of these things. And it's almost like, going to a confessional for like people who practice the Catholic faith. But that's what that reminded me of immediately. It was like auditing, just like without the machine though.
And in the promos, there was a clip with, I don't know if you guys watched the promo with Billy Lord as Winter, and she pretty much said, like, you know, just give me your finger, and, you know, if you lie, I'll know. If you're scared, I'll know. You know, it's just some sort of like symbolism for the particular culture, and so it's like, so it's all tied together. So because also the fact that damn Kai was getting his ass kicked at that moment, so and Winter was at home, and you know, so with the kids, so that means it's somebody else that play, and I'm thinking that Kai sent the clowns to go take out the Chins, you know what I'm saying? So because he said he was mutilated, so he was, that means
that humiliated like moment. As soon as he started mumbling that and like walking away, like, oh fuck, you just signed your death warrant. Like,
exactly.
you just pissed off a crazy person, and you don't piss off crazy.
He gave me shades of Tate in that moment. Murder House, like vintage American Horror Story. It was very Tate-like.
Yes, and I want to also mention Tom Chin as well, because he read the fuck out of Kai at that meeting, because he brought up something called 4chan. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And so I had to go look that up, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. But it's because I did not know that even existed. So
it's like where, you know how in stories there's like a bridge on the trolls live under it. That's like 4chan but the internet.
Pretty much. I didn't even bother visiting the website. I was like, I'll probably go here and get mad as hell. But it just seems that because Tom Chan carried over his anger and his like frustration with, you know, people who didn't vote, people who threw away, you know, protest votes and stuff like that. And so he brought that to that meeting, and he was like, look, he said, you might have came out, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and come out, since you came out your mama and daddy's basement, you need to go ahead and meet people who are different from you. He pretty much read him for filth. And it was like, most of that wasn't because of I'm the chairperson of whatever. I don't know if that was a city council board or whatever, but it was more along the lines of, this is me talking as an individual, and this is me telling you Trump might be your president, but don't let your president get you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? That was him telling that in so many words. And so I kind of, to me, he had a beginning, middle, and end. Chin did. He sat there, he showed his frustration, and he was one of those vocal people who like, I'm not having it, I'm in power, and I'm going to do everything I can in my district to make sure that my constituents are safe. So I'm going to send these cops over here. So it all came like full circle. Like, you know, you speak out, or this is what happened to people who are against whatever Kai is going down. He's going to just take you out. And it just seems like, oh, guys, so much I can go on, but I'm going to stop it right here. Oh, one last thing. You guys know that the Mayfair Richards, aka Ivy and Ollie stay in the Halloween house, right? That's the house that Laurie Strode was babysitting in Halloween.
What?
Yeah. Wait, which house?
The house that they stay in. That's the house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the house that, you know, that street is Haddonfield from Halloween. Yeah. Which is kind of crazy because, see, the kids saw the clowns go inside the house, kind of like in Halloween. So it's just kind of like, it's still creepy.
Oh, and that's funny. You know, that's awesome. I like that.
That's cool.
I think their house is gorgeous. I'm not going to lie. And it has a very creepy murder house, you know, type of vibe to it, which is nice. You know, the house inside, it looks kind of creepy. And especially since we're getting, I guess, you know, a sort of the Purge, the Strangers type of vibe with the clowns, it's appropriate that they live in a creepy house. I didn't think any of the clown masks were really that scary, to be quite honest. But it sort of gives kind of like the Strangers vibe, where it's like these weird, almost cartoony type of clown masks, besides the one clown that actually looks like a clown that has like a really creepy, maniacal, demented face. The other ones are kind of, you know, sort of like cheesy-ish, you know, the ball gag lady, the dildo face, and that kind of stuff. Okay, so at the end of the episode, just a really quick, there is a clown in her bed. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say yes, just for sake of like narrative momentum. I don't think that this season so far has shown us that it's gonna kind of Game of Thrones do like a season of solemn character building, which is never really an option for American Horror Story to begin with because of the nature of it, you know. And I think it's true to horror. It reminds me of a character from Scream, the TV show, which was such a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm so embarrassed that it's admit
Don't
that I
feel
watched
bad.
that.
Don't feel bad. I watched it all. Don't feel
So did I, and Priscilla, even though she's not
Yeah.
admitting it.
Okay, I'm amongst. Okay,
I
forgot
watched
I'm
it
amongst
too.
friends. You guys are chill people. But it reminded me of that monologue that Noah has in season 1, where he talks about, you know, the hot movie or scary movies. They burn quick, they burn hot, they burn fast. That's kind of what this episode was. So I think they're gonna have it to where it's a clown. If they open the next episode and it's just like Allie or Ivy, and she just like, you know, puts her reading glasses on and sees she's just mistaken the whole time. I hope that for sake of just raising the stakes a bit, you know, that it's a real clown.
Okay. So any final thoughts on the episode as a whole? Any theories, any ideas, anything from the episode that you wanted to bring up before we sort of segue into our MVP? I'll start picking on you guys individually. Mark, what about you?
I just think, again, I think that either Dr. Vincent, Ivy...
Rudy. Dr. Rudy.
Yeah, his last name's Vincent.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. He and Ivy have to have somebody's spilling the tea to Kai, and I'm just trying to figure out why in the hell are they targeting Allie. So it feels like a Scream scenario. Like, you don't know who to trust. Like, you don't know who to trust except for the kid, because he can't possibly be doing the shit. So that's what I'm looking for.
I don't trust that kid.
You don't trust the kid?
I don't trust anybody except for Allie.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm gonna be an Allie apologist. I can already see, and I can tell you guys straight up. Like, I work with a lot of Allies. I'm a counselor in real life, and like, I'm kind of immune to the neuroses of other people. It just doesn't affect me as much, but I could totally see how her personality, and like I said earlier, she's kind of a caricature of what people view as this kind of super left-leaning, laissez-faire parent, blah, blah, blah.
Clay, continue on. And any final thoughts on the episode? Anything that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, just mostly that they are capturing this moment in America better than any other TV show right now, better than some news networks, to be completely frank with you. The anxiety, the fear, the claustrophobia, the uncertainty, the wondering, all of that is what we are constantly going through day after day. And, you know, I just want to say this. At this point, it's been made, and this is a little bit of, you know, something I hope resonates with our listeners. We can't always look up for leadership. Right now, that's not, we have to look to each other. We have to look to our neighbors. We have to accept each other. And really dismiss this idea that anything is different or bad. And this show is, to me, this was satire at like the 10th degree, the way that they did this. It was so biting, it was so current, and it was so relevant. And I think a lot of people felt like this show expressed things that they felt but haven't really had the words for.
Okay. Darnell, what about you? Any final thoughts?
But I've not been a little quiet because I feel like I'm still trying to figure out like what's going on in this season. Still kind of confused with what's going on here. I think that overall so far, even though it seems that everything is very reminiscent of like 2016, 2017 politics, I feel like there's a bigger picture here other than just the whole political thing. I feel like I think half the time she might be hallucinating, and half the time it could be that, it's real stuff that's going on. So they kind of mix it in together so that you wouldn't know which is which. And maybe clowns in this show could be like symbolic of authority figures. And I feel like some of the people that you feel are kind of shady in the background is because they really are shady. Like, who knows? Maybe that could be the plot twist, that everybody is like working together and everybody is against, and they could all be clowns for all we know. She and her son might be the only sane people in the entire thing. I don't know. It feels like there's something like a huge plot twist, and this is like the only season of Horror Story that I've ever been this stumped with. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I completely get where you're coming from. I feel like I can't really say whether or not like it's fake or it's an illusion, or whether or not like it's people having a hidden agenda against her, or why, because I don't have enough information yet. Like I want to know more before I say anything.
I am shocked. Priscilla, you and I normally agree on most things. This is like one of the few times in more distinct memory I can think we fall on different sides of the coin. Jeff, this podcast is tearing us apart. Thank you.
It is. You're welcome.
Thank you for this.
New alliances are forming. Priscilla, what about
it's
you?
like Game of Thrones.
Yes.
American Horror Story.
Any other final thoughts on the episode, Priscilla, or anything that you wanted to bring up?
Nothing. Just you guys have like a really good argument towards the clowns being real and that end clown at the very end in the bed being real. But I'm still not convinced. Like, I don't know. Something about her, like, defending herself with the rosé, like, how did she hit the car and the clown in the back wasn't hurt at all and, like, edged out of the way before anything? Like, we know that the cop is in on something, because who the hell says it's a murder-suicide when, like, the throat is slit that way? Like, there's angles and science, obviously, to this that point you in the right direction here. Yeah. And that cop obviously isn't doing it. So I see the breadcrumbs leading to, like, the right trail here, but I need more. I need more.
And to piggyback off of that with the cop, it just goes to show that the fact that you don't know who's a clown and who's not, it kind of goes back to the night of the election, when the election night, people woke up to people, like they woke up next morning and they weren't friends. Family members were not family. They were family members, but relationships cracked that night. Yeah. So you don't know, with the fact that the cop could be behind it. So it goes to show that it could be your local neighborhood grocer, your friendly neighborhood cop, your neighbors, anybody. It kind of goes to show, like, the people who you think that you know, who you trust, might not have your best interests at heart because of their own issues that they've been harboring. And so now that this new regime has come in, they feel like they have the freedom to do what they want now. And so that's why I think it's the most horrific thing about this whole entire season, because I lost a lot of friends. I've become detached from a lot of people because of this election. And that is a horror story in itself. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this nation is wounded. I think that we're hurt. I think we're looking for something, someone, some idea, something to kind of pull us back together, because everything is so partisan and everything is just so hostile, so hot and contested, and just this volatile mix. But yeah, I think that this, to me, seems so timely. Like, only Ryan Murphy could hit this. It is just so perfectly timed. So yeah, what I'm interested to see is that when we record the podcast for the finale, when we look back, and us being on the pilot episode for this season now, what it had all been about. What was the larger point of all of this? You know, what did it all add up to? And yeah, that's what I'm interested to see, is what direction this is all going to head in.
I like that. My final thoughts, I guess, for me, confirmation that the clowns were real happened when I saw them killing the Changs. I'm like, okay, this wasn't just in her head because it's the exact same clowns that we saw in the grocery store. As far as the dildo clown being in her bed, I guess we'll have to see. Was that just a something that her mind concocted, or is he actually there? I'm not certain. I guess it would be kind of like one of those cheap horror things where, you know, she turns on the light and there's nothing there, or like, you know, Ivy comes into the room, turns on the light and there's nothing there, or she leaves the room and returns and there's nothing there, and then that'll leave it vague as to whether there was or wasn't. I guess we'll have to see about that. What I'm more curious about is who were the clowns that were fucking? Nobody said anything about them besides they were fucking in the damn melons, but who were they? You know, was that, you know,
Emma Roberts' character.
Emma Roberts. Is that, you know...
Oh, yeah.
Is that Ivy getting banged by Kai? Is it Winter getting banged by Kai and they're not really blood related? Or was it and they still are?
Game of Thrones.
You know, yeah, is it Game of Thrones all up in there? That's something I'm curious about, because there seems to be some sort of sexual relationship with the clowns. So if these clowns are people we have already been introduced to, then who was doing it? That might be kind of interesting to see if that ever gets revealed.
And why? What the hell is this all about?
Exactly. So now it's time for the MVP, the most valuable player. Which character impressed you the most and why? The rules are simple. You state which character impressed you throughout this episode and why. And if someone has already mentioned the character that you were going to choose, you must select a different one. No repeats. So we will start off with Darnell.
This was really difficult. Really, really difficult.
But you have it very easy because you have everyone to choose.
I know, right? I almost want to say I don't have one, but if I had to choose an MVP, I would choose Kai, because I feel like he is the mastermind the mastermind of a lot of the things that we're going to see coming up later in the episode, in the season. Just the fact that, I mean, his sister is scared of him and he's able to control her to that point. I think we'll see him showing his control over a lot other people and situations coming on later down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And listeners, at this point in the podcast is where Darnell's co-hosts give him the cold shoulder and turn away from him, because I'm sure several of you might have had Kai as your MVP. Maybe, maybe not. We will find out. So, who shall go next? Who am I feeling nice to? Mark.
Oh, okay. I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna go with Winter. Not Winter. Excuse me. I meant to say Ivy. Excuse me. Only because she is a trooper, and she is doing everything in her power to make sure that her family stays, intact and whatnot. Although there's cracks forming, she's the MVP tonight because she, is pretty much I don't say the same person, but she is the one who is pretty much telling Allie, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. If you want to get better, you have to do what is required of you, to not just for the sake of this marriage or for our business, for the sake of our son. So that's tonight. My mood might change in a couple of weeks. So
Okay. You know that meme of the little blonde girl in the backseat of the car?
Yes.
That's the face I'm
Unimpressed,
giving
Chloe.
you.
Really?
Because that's the wrong answer. But you can have her. Priscilla, you're MVP.
Yes, I'm so happy that you chose me next.
Oh my
For
gosh.
2 seconds, I thought that you were going to choose mine. Winter is totally my MVP.
Oh, okay, okay.
I freaking love Winter. Like, she's so fucking weird. Like, there's such a duality to her. And I
Yes.
feel like if there's, like, a cult, she's already a member of it because she's so scared of her brother. And even though, like, she campaigned for Hillary Clinton, like, obviously she doesn't espouse, like, those ideals. Or if she does, she can't anymore because of, like, a pinky promise that she made with her brother. So I'm looking forward to see more about her character. And the scenes that I have seen her in, like, were the most fucked up scenes of the episode, with her showing a kid, like, real murders happening, and, like, her seeing, like, a real murder happening and lying about it to the parents. So, yep. She's my MVP.
Okay, I'm going to be nice and I'm going to go last. So that means Clay, you're next.
Oh, what? Let's see. Maybe you. I don't think. My MVP for the first episode out this season is gonna be Mr. Chin, because fuck you, Kai.
Chang.
Fuck you and all that you think and do is just such a little bitch. I hate him. But it's just it's great acting on Evan Peters' part. But Mr. Chin, before when he's talking to his wife, like, you couldn't be bothered to vote. Oh my god, that would infuriate me.
Yes.
That would just that is like, if you didn't vote, you don't have a right. You don't get to criticize a democratic process you refuse to engage in. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep your eyes open, get out there and vote. That's like our fucking duty. I'm sorry, I'm on a whole tangent there, but yeah, I think Mr. Chin, I really, what he said to him, you know, like, you need to get out. You need to go meet some people that are different from you, who've had different life experiences. And that's incredibly true. I think the best way to combat prejudice is through diversity, which seems kind of like counterintuitive, but really that's the best way to do it, to like, take somebody's preconceptions of a race, a group of people, a demographic, and to dismantle it, introduce them to people in that. Because what happens is that, you know, they realize that people aren't these caricatures that they have built up in their head, that people are a lot more complex and three-dimensional than that. So gone but not forgotten, my MVP is going to be Mr. Chin.
Or Chang, as he's called in the actual show.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to go back and, like, we should just edit that to make it sound like I didn't just say the wrong name that entire time. I feel so bad.
It was wonderful. I tried to help you, but you didn't
No,
listen.
I looked it up. I looked it up on American Horror Story. I was like, was it Chan or Chang? Because I knew I was going to make that mistake. It was
Okay, I feel better and slightly less racist. Thank you, Priscilla.
There you go. Yes.
Group shame. All right.
That's too funny.
Just kidding.
I'm actually surprised that no one chose Allie, because I'm not choosing her. But I'm surprised that no one chose her.
No, my second was going to be the guy that Chaz Bono played.
Oh,
Gary
okay, Longstreet.
It's like, because I can totally hear, like, his mom tweeting up a storm, being like, "What are you doing wearing that fucking hat?"
Yes, I said the same thing. I was like, Cher is actor. She probably called him up like, what the fuck was you? How much money did Ryan Murphy pay you to put that goddamn hat on? Don't you see me dragging hoes on Facebook, on Twitter every damn day about this shit?
If he could turn back time.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Okay, I'm actually going to pick Twisty the Clown, because I really was excited to have Twisty back. I loved seeing Twisty in action in the comic book, and I know from the season trailer, or whatever, the trailer before everything, or I should say the premiere trailer, that's what I'm trying to say. There, at some point, is a Twisty doll, and so I'm super pumped, and if I had to pick anyone that was left, I guess I would give it to Twisty the Clown. Although, Allie, shout out to you, because you are the main character, and I do feel for you, and I'm not judging you, unlike some other of my fellow co-hosts. But Yeah,
I love you, Alec.
they
You're
threw-
just kidding, man.
they threw major shade at you throughout the podcast. So now it's time to rate the episode. How would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 clown masks? The point system is allowed, and if you find the episode exceptional, deserving of more than a 10, you may grant it the coveted Twisty the Clown Mask. And we will go in reverse order, and I hope I remember the order correctly. So I do know that means that I'm first. I'm going to give it an 8. I feel like it was a solid first episode. The reason I'm giving it an 8 and I didn't go any higher is because, my hope is that it keeps on improving and keeps on getting better so that at some point it can reach and achieve a higher score. And I feel like 8 is a solid number. In my eyes, like an 8 is good. So, I think it was a strong first episode. It set up all the characters. I feel like we know a lot of the characters' motivations, and we're still sort of confused about other characters. Like they're still sort of in the gray area, and it also made me feel very paranoid about all of the characters except for Allie and maybe Ozzy, which I guess is a good thing, because if this is sort of a Purge Strangers type of season, in addition to it being a cult and phobias and all that kind of stuff, it's good to feel a little paranoia with some of the other characters, and sort of not knowing their true motivations. So 8 clown masks from me. Clay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to give it 9 clown masks. I think that this show is likely to be on for a very, very long time, mostly because I think it's the perfect format to match Ryan Murphy's kind of manic, almost ADHD manner for producing things and juggling different projects and different this and that. I think it resonated with me in a way that made me feel connected to it. I felt like it had voiced out loud and on a national platform a lot of thoughts that many of us have had. And again, like I said, we are realizing week after week, tweet after tweet, that we can't look up for the answer. So we have to look to each other. And I feel like in some weird abstract way, I'm hoping, kind of projecting my own idealism onto American Horror Story, and I'm hoping that ends up being a part of the larger story here.
Priscilla?
Man, I hate going after such bright endorsements of it, because the fact that it left me confused and the fact that I don't feel as connected to the overall sense of fear or the overall like the little phobias that keep coming in, it didn't hook me at other premieres of the show have hooked me before. So I don't know. I feel like I'm giving this one a 6, passing in some places, but not to me. Not at this time. I needed to reach a little bit more to be able to give it a higher score. So a 6.
You just killed Clay.
I know. I'm just blown away. I would expect this from Brittany, but not you, Priscilla. E2. E2.
Wow.
No, I'm just giving you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, hopefully the season improves for you. A 6 out the gate. Okay. That's fine.
Mark?
Yeah, that hurt my feelings too. I'm over here crying.
You just killed us all, Priscilla. Just murdered the whole cast.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 10 because
wow, I'm impressed. Live in your truth.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love the aesthetic behind Hotel, and I loved what Ryan Murphy did with Roanoke. He just changed the storytelling format of the show, and Freak Show was not my biggest, but I'm giving it, after, I know me and Jeff had this discussion after seeing Freaks, I've given Freak Show a more appreciative, nod. But I think that this is the first time since Asylum, and as much as I love Coven, I had to give it to Asylum when you had a small set of characters and you all knew where this was headed, and so kinda. What I mean, kinda is what this season's gonna be about, you know where the characters stand, you know some of their motives and all that, and so it was clear and concise for me, being the diehard American Horror Story fan that I am. So it just laid it out for me. Now, if we'd have been doing Roanoke, then I'd probably have been like, you, Priscilla, gave it a 6 because I was all I feel this last year when Roanoke came on. But when I kind of got an idea of what was going on, it jumped up for me. But so for me, it's a 10.
And for those tuning in, you should check out on Apple Podcasts Horror Hotel, and you will listen to us talk about horror films.
Yes.
Shameless plug. Darnell.
No, please,
Yes.
I'm with it.
Darnell, what about you? We got another Priscilla.
I was battling between 5 and 6.
I just feel betrayed by both of you. Gee, come on, you guys.
They're the Ivies of the podcast.
You guys are.
Maybe by episode 2, things will get a bit better, But for this episode, I'll say 6.5. That's being generous, very generous. I think I want to believe that, we're gonna get this hugely, this bigly plot twist. Yeah. That will, be like the biggest plot twist we ever seen in American Horror Story ever. And then I'll change my tune. But for now, nah. Maybe by episode 2. I'll give it a chance and see if it will improve.
Well, that's one way to close out the first podcast.
How about a song?
Yes. So on that note, join us next time for a brand new installment of Are You Afraid? Cult. Once again, here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR. Are You Afraid? Follow us on Tumblr, areouafraid-ahs.tumblr.com. Follow Poppy Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube at Poppy Chulo Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychuloradio.com. Help support Poppy Chulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/poppychuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@poppychuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio programs by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts. Just search for Are You Afraid? Cult, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. My co-hosts, please wish the listeners a good night.
Good night.
Good
Look out for
night.
clowns.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. Download new episodes of Are You Afraid? Cult every Thursday via Apple Podcasts and the Poppy Chulo Radio archives. Good night.